All right, quick video here. Let me just be specific and be to the point. If you're an anti-war Tulsi Gabbard supporter, who running for president best represents that position? Because remember, Tulsi Gabbard, in her presentation when she was running for president, she would leave her anti-war rhetoric toward the end of her campaign stump speech. Why? Because it was the jewel, it was the centerpiece of her campaign. It's why people from the left and the right decided that they wanted to follow Tulsi Gabbard because she was serious about this. She went to Syria to do her own fact-finding mission and took a beating in the neoliberal, neoconservative media. I'll never forget when she was on PBS and she literally just walked out of there. NPR, rather, same thing. Leland Vittert on Fox. I'll never forget that interview because if I could have punched through the television set to hit Vittert in the head with a fist, I would have done it. Yeah, I was so angry. And I'm angry because if you're for peace, then somehow you're a stooge of Putin, or you don't understand the nuances of foreign policy. You don't understand that this keeps our country safer by stirring up hornets' nests all over the world. Joe Jorgensen wants to bring all the troops home. Bring them home. No reservations about it. No double talk, no caveats. Bring them home. Tulsi Gabbard wanted to really end the regime change war. She was willing to continue to fight the war, quote unquote, on terror. To some degree, some missions are good, she said. Maybe they are, but I'd like to have a real conversation about what that looks like. If you elect Biden or Trump, you're not going to get that conversation. Trump is more anti-war than Biden, though. And I've been saying lately, if you're not willing to get outside the duopoly, go vote for Trump. Go vote for Trump. But if you want to get outside the duopoly and you want substantive change and you want to begin to have a conversation outside the two-party train wreck, then Joe Jorgensen's the way to go. Joe Jorgensen is sensible. When it comes to things like police reform, she's sensible. It's not abolish the police. It's retrain police and obviously end things like qualified immunity. If you don't know what that is, look into it. It's basically these guys can break laws or do things and then not get punished for it. And that needs to change. Doesn't matter what job you do. If you're guilty of something, you should be convicted of it if you're guilty of the crime. And the police shouldn't get, it's like diplomatic immunity, which is the worst thing I've ever heard. I mean, I've watched television shows where some foreigner comes over and they kill somebody in a city or something, and well, I've got diplomatic immunity, so it wasn't me anyway. And they can't even investigate it. They can't even look into it. This is crazy stuff that I don't think is constitutional. If you're a diplomat and we write a stupid law, then we need to unwrite that law. Same thing goes with the police. It's common sense. It's not attacking the police. It's not impugning the police. It's not blaming the police first for everything that happens. That's why it's a common sense approach to it. See, my theory on the police right now is a police could all become angels and have little halos, and God could have a link to them and be transmitting data straight from heaven, and people would still be doing the things that they'd still be causing violence and so forth, because it's not about that anymore. There's something really sinister going on. People really need to invest some time into that for themselves. So there are a lot of distractions. So I'm speaking to a narrow group of people who are smarter than most people, because if you're just going to vote to be a resistance person because you hate Donald Trump as a human being, that is stupid. If you're voting for Trump because, you know, America first and so forth, you're less stupid, but we can do so much better. We can do so much better. And the fact that nobody is talking to Jo Jorgensen, she should be on talk shows both on the left and the right. This is the genius of libertarian thought, is that you can appeal to both sides. It doesn't take more from one side or the other. If I were to pick a side where it might be slightly more favorable, it's probably on the right because, you know, again, libertarians believe in the First Amendment. See, free speech didn't used to be a thing that the right only talked about. It used to be a thing that the left championed, but now they've abandoned. They call everything hate speech, which is very Orwellian. So it's the First Amendment, Second Amendment. I talk a lot about the Fourth Amendment. Obviously, as this election gets closer and the turmoil at the end of it, the 10th Amendment, to me, becomes extremely important. And again, libertarians are all over that. And you may think to yourself, well, Dave, you know, Jo Jorgensen, does she really have a chance to win? I don't know if that's the point. I don't know if that's the point. The point is, every election cycle, Americans do the same thing. The two big teams, the red team, the blue team, and some years, like in 2008 and 2012, the differences between those two candidates was almost, you had the architect of Obamacare against the guy who eventually got the bill passed. And you wonder why people were like, I'll just stick with Obama. Why should we switch horses? You know, I mean, it was stagnation for 8 years and people were like, it's fine. Same thing in 2008, even though you had the Messiah candidate against the neocon war hero who they were trying to make into some ultra conservative, and John McCain was not that. So we have opportunities. We have them. Go look at your ballot. Some people are voting by mail, which is scary because I don't trust the vote by mail. But if you are voting by mail, you get a long time to just stare at that ballot. Think to yourself, what can I do to change this? What can I do to send a message? In some polls, Jo Jorgensen's at 2% without any media, zero media. Okay, she's at 2%. And imagine if she was in the debates. That number would quadruple overnight, guarantee you. She'd be at 8 or 10%. They won't have her in the debate unless she hits 15, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. We need alternative candidates running. So let me get back to the original premise. Again, if you're an anti-war Tulsi Gabbard supporter, and if she had you at anti-war, why doesn't the same thing apply to Jo Jorgensen? Jo Jorgensen's on the ballot. She's running for president. Libertarians are an interesting bunch, and it's far more exciting and interesting than a Democrat or a Republican. It's new. I mean, they've been around since what, like 1971, and they do get elected here and there. They do get elected to state and local offices. So it's not like they haven't made inroads. And I know it's difficult to do this top-down thing. There are libertarian congressional candidates as well out there, people running in states where there's a lot of open land and freedom and so forth, and where libertarianism appeals even more because people want their rights, they want their freedoms. It's liberty first, people. That's what I keep telling everybody. Liberty first, because without the liberty, nothing else will flow downhill if you don't have liberty. And if you want the opposite of liberty, you're going to get tyranny, because that's what it is. And we're headed in that direction, whether it's Trump or Biden. Jo Jorgensen will get into the White House, and then she'll pledge to leave you alone. so you can do what you were born to do on planet Earth. Pretty simple. And if you're a truly anti-war activist and you believe that we've been blowing up other countries for too long, and that we should get into the business of rebuilding our own country and using those troops only when absolutely necessary, then you should be voting for Joe Jorgensen. And that was the Tulsi Gabbard philosophy. War should be a very, very last resort. But, again, you had Trump hiring Bolton. I mean, Biden gets elected, he might rehire John Bolton. Remember, he gets along really well with Dick Cheney, Joe Biden. He gets along really well. So we're in a strange place, and you can make an impact rather than just saying, I'm not going to do anything this year. Or if you want to write Tulsi Gabbard in, I'm not going to vote or shame you, because you're making a statement that she was the best. But the Democrats don't care. They're not going to listen to you. They're not going to see your write-in vote and go, oh, no. You're way better off sticking it to these two parties by getting a libertarian candidate over 10%. Wouldn't that be amazing? And there are states like New Hampshire, Idaho, New Mexico, even Florida, Texas. These are states where the libertarian could do really well. But you got to get the word out. You can't be complacent. You got to get involved, which means you might need to hold a sign or go to a polling place and say, hey, we've got an alternative here. So in any event, my name is Dave. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. I'm asking folks to stop unsubscribing. I know I've been offending people, and it's a different channel than it was 6 months ago. It's very different, and I've taken a different tact. And I'm trying to reinvent myself, politically speaking. And it's a long, hard road, but we're going to continue on. So see you soon.